Hey, good evening and welcome. It's Monday night. Now, I know y'all are expecting Andy to be here. He's the usual guy who's going to be bringing us on to the Monday night, the off night as we like to call it. Podcast featuring a bunch of old dudes trying to sound funny and usually pulling it off a lot better than some of you younger folks, not to be off-putting. My name is Jason Grant, and when I'm not busy being a Sir Graves ghastly lighting double, I'm here at the off night. And as soon as this music stops playing, we're going to bring on our host with the most. We're going to be bringing on Mark Sweetman, live, in studio. Here is the man himself.
Hey, Jason, it's okay. You can bring me on with the music. I bring the music down after.
Oh, okay.
After I come on, then I bring the music down.
This is what happens when we don't rehearse. This is the not. I'm quitting the band.
It took Andy 2.5 years before he could ever remember the name of the show. he was on it every week doing the announcing.
I was just busy trying to get in the Sir Graves ghastly lighting double comment because, again, for our Detroit audience, they may remember Sir Graves as one of the great TV personalities of our day.
Oh, sure. Certainly. All right. Well, usually I have a little banter with Andy. We find out how the week went. How was your week?
Well, it's interesting. I'm out there, as you know, I'm sequestered at the Chelsea Proving Grounds where I'm driving round in circles, realizing that this is just sort of the sort of life mocking me for my whole life. Middle of a dark track out in the middle of nowhere, amongst the wildlife, cosplaying in sort of a deliverance sort of way.
You still have the overnight hours, right?
Yes, I do. So I'm out there where the deer and the antelope scare the living shit out of you by jumping out in front of the car on a regular basis. And it's fun. I like it. And it keeps me more than 500 feet away from a school, so we're good.
Hey, how about that?
It's a comedy.
Not only 500 feet away, but I think they have fences and walls out there too, don't they?
Just like some of the places I've been earlier in life, and it's just like going home. Except I get to leave after 8 hours, whereas the last time I had to stay for the breakfast service.
All right, well, let's get Susan out here because
our own Mary Shelley.
She likes to do her part of the show, and then vamos for the rest. Oh, look at that! She looks so comfortable there.
Exactly. Oh my God, like she's on an IKEA ad.
You know, something you realize I didn't until I saw her just now. And I know this because she told me, but she's cut 10 inches of her hair off.
11.
And she's still got long hair. So
11 inches.
There's an 11-inch joke, but I'm
Susan,
just not
tell them what
you
do with your hair.
Typically mail it to Locks of Love.
Oh, cool.
They make wigs for people with alopecia, like children that really have it. Yeah. Not celebrities that fake have it.
Yeah.
And we had a daughter that went through chemotherapy and lost all her hair, so we know what that's all about, to have a young child without hair.
But she was 3, so she didn't really need a wig. But
that's
Lots
true.
of Love is where I usually send my hair. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready to do your poem?
Shelley.
I can put you on.
You mentioned a female author, Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
I've read her book, and I won't be reading the person with alopecia's book. That's a published author. Not interested, but hey, I like the classics.
There you go.
All right. Well, you ready? Is your poem ready?
It is.
Poem.
All right. Here we go.
All right, here we go. News of the week. Congress passed a bill to avert a government shutdown. Gee, until February, is Congress a circus of clowns? Israel took control of Al-Shifa Hospital, a win. Meanwhile, China's leader met with President Biden. Though Trump called his political opponents vermin, in the White House, I'd rather have an actual rat have a term in. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts pledge for gifts undisclosed. The Supreme Court is now on the honor code. Humanitarian and former First Lady, 96 years young, and nothing shady. Rosalind Carter, a fond farewell. May all your haters go to hell. That is your poem for the week.
I like. May all your haters go to hell. Something she never would have said, but it's appropriate, you know.
Well, it's and if she wanted to say it from the South, she'd say, "Bless their heart."
Bless their heart, exactly.
I said a fond farewell.
Now wait. Before you take off, you want to say hello to Sammy, who's with us. We just leave him out until after. There he is.
Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Very nice poem, and perfect for Rosalind Carter.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, they were married longer than Trump has been alive.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
Just an amazing humanitarian couple.
Fewer people
by the way,
died in her car.
Do you know who delivered the Rosalind when Rosalind Carter was born? Do you know who delivered her? Lillian Carter.
Lillian Carter. That's right.
She was a nurse, and she delivered
I saw
Rosalind
that
Carter
in the Times obituary.
Well, there you have it. I understand that she graduated high school valedictorian, and by the time she was 18, she already had a college degree. Brilliant woman. And
in a related story, Melania Trump has just conquered the abacus.
Well,
you think?
Now, hold on.
To be fair, the abacus is a mountain range in northern Italy.
A pair of shoes.
Melania Trump speaks 5 languages. Let's not,
but 4 of them end with "that'll be cash."
Remember when she gave Michelle Obama's speech? So, how many languages can she plagiarize in?
Well,
that's funny.
At least she doesn't sprout the same man bag that Michelle does. But let's not bring that into it right now. Anyway,
Rosalind Carter, wonderful woman, and we're sorry to see her pass.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, absolutely.
And on another related note, and perhaps even sadder when you think about it, Dana Carvey lost one of his kids.
Oh,
yes.
I did not hear that.
No,
that's actually much worse when you survive a child.
Because Rosalind had a good full life, and
that's worse.
And
I'm so sorry to hear that.
How old was the person?
He was in his early 30s.
Yeah,
he was 32.
Do we know what he died of?
They actually said a drug overdose. I give them credit for that because that's not easy to say, and I think it's important to say because it tells people this is out there. It's something that hasn't gone away, and it can happen to anyone, quite literally. And from my understanding, there's no one nicer in the business than Dana Carvey, in a business that is not particularly nice.
He was nice to me.
I've
heard nothing but good things about the man.
Yeah, I only had one interaction with Dana Carvey, and he was a perfect gentleman. So
I mean, and I know that in this business, you have a bad day, and that's the one that everyone remembers. And
Church Lady was a Hall of Fame SNL.
Oh my God! Yeah, but to lose your kid, to lose your son, no, that's a hard thing.
Yeah, that's awful.
And
Church Lady alone,
there's
Church
tragedy
Lady
and there's celebration
for the Mark Twain Prize, I think.
Do you remember when? Here it is. Trump mocks Jimmy Carter amid tragedy.
That would be about right for Trump. Yeah.
That sounds like Trump. That's probably a true.
Well, you remember,
but like I said, I can't even write about it in my TikTok. He's soulless. It's it doesn't matter. All I do now is call him President Man-Tits. That's all.
When he,
you said that was my special name, Sam.
Perhaps we'll have parades like "Thank you very much, thank you very." The Scrooge.
Yes.
The musical.
Yeah,
where people are dancing in the streets because Scrooge passed away.
It's not like he's going. He's going to go, "Oh, that's terrible." He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
If his daughter testifies against him and gives out important information, he'll call her the C word. He doesn't care.
The one everybody forgets was his insult to the Dingle family when John Dingle died.
Oh, what did he do then?
Debbie Dingle remembers. Oh, he went on and on about how I think it was during that thing that he was trying to pass the overturning of Obamacare.
Yeah, Obamacare.
The one that McCain put the thumbs down on.
Yeah.
Well, before McCain passed away, John Dingle passed away. John Dingle had been the longest running longest member of
Oh yeah,
Congress
they
ever.
own that seat. It's royalty in this country.
Yeah, well,
the
it was his
Dingle
dad's
family
seat,
owns it.
and now it's his widow's seat, so it's
Yes,
always
it
been a
is.
Dingle in that seat.
Well, the voting rights bill was smacked down.
No.
Yeah, well, anyway, he was, and so Trump's complaint was that he allowed them to have the state funeral for John Dingle.
Yes.
And she didn't repay him by
Allowed.
supporting whatever he was trying to get through.
Yeah,
Right.
then
What a dick.
dare I bring up Sonny Bono and his state funeral, or is that
Well, on
tacky at
that
this
note, I'm so sorry for all the people who have passed away, but Rosalind Carter should be remembered. She was a true humanitarian and a
I will
brilliant.
I will
I
even
have a trivia
refrain.
question. I found this out today. I have a trivia question of the Habitat for Humanity houses they built.
Yeah.
Since most of us are based in Detroit, but Sam, you're welcome to answer this. How many of those houses that they built? I think they built 4,000 altogether in their time with Habitat for Humanity. How many were in Detroit?
I have no idea. A couple.
About 400.
10.
All right.
Okay,
That's not bad.
I believe it.
I mean, Detroit has a lot of houses. They didn't need to build houses as much as they need to
No.
rehab a lot of them.
No. I mean,
So
They're-
there's still a lot of housing in Detroit.
I don't know if you know this, but Israel has now taken over. You mentioned this in your poem. Israel, by Susan, Israel has now taken over the hospital in Gaza.
Correct.
And the first thing I thought was Jewish doctors. What could go wrong?
well, there you go. I thought of it more as the infirmary in Andersonville or Auschwitz. It is to healthcare what those facilities were to healthcare.
Yeah, but that was socialized medicine at its apex.
Yes, it absolutely was.
Oh,
Let's
by the
not
way, I have a joke, and I want to tell it if I may.
Okay, all right.
All right. So this elderly couple is having dinner, and the husband says to the wife, do you know where we are right now? And she goes, well, yeah. She goes, no, do you? This is the first place we ever had dinner when we first went out. Oh my goodness, that's right, she says. Do you remember that after we ate, we went behind this place and made love against that fence? I think we should do it again. She goes, do you think we can? And he goes, well, let's give it a shot. So a cop who's eating overhears this and says, I'm going to kind of tail them because they're old and, I don't want anything bad to happen. So he follows them out, and the husband leans his wife against the fence, and they are going at it like madmen. They're just banging away like insanity, like the earth is moving, okay? And finally, after about 15 minutes, they fall to the ground, just collapsed.
Right.
And the cop comes over and says, that was unbelievable. I can't believe you guys weren't at it that long. I can't believe it. How did that happen? And the man said, well, when we first did it, the fence wasn't electric.
There we go. Oh, God.
That's a great joke.
Thank you.
Okay, so these two fags are fucking a dead alligator on a bus.
Who hasn't?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Been there.
I don't tell alligator jokes, so you're right. We'll just abandon it right there.
That's a Dane Cook joke if I've ever heard it.
Actually, Buddy Hackett. It's a Buddy Hackett.
Oh, by the way, I want to make sure I have this name right. Matt Rife.
Matt Rife. Now, how are you getting into Matt Rife? You're about a month behind all the Matt Rife news. What went on with Matt Rife?
Well, nothing. I just started reading. Well, I'm as usual late to the show, but just started reading about him. That he's like Dane Cook Redux, except he's dirty.
Oh,
Dane
God,
Cook,
please,
but dirty.
let's-
Wow, there's a combo.
Dane Cook, but dirty.
What was funny about Dane Cook? I never got
This
it.
is the thing about Dane Cook. Let me. I can't explain it, but let me try to. Dane Cook. I used to see him perform in Boston when I lived there, and the audiences just went wild for him.
Right.
Went crazy for him. So, if you're a comedy club owner, right?
Yeah, you love him.
He's packing the place.
The only thing you're counting is seats.
Right. Yeah.
And,
how many
and,
drinks
and I
I'm
understand
selling?
that.
And,
I do.
Yeah.
So, and he just, he just hit it out of the park. Now, other
he was.
comic. Yeah, go ahead. I'm
I'm
sorry.
just saying he was charismatic, but Sam, what was funny about the dude?
Oh, no. No argument here. He
Okay.
was very loud.
Yeah.
And very energetic.
Yeah.
And as we all know, sometimes that's all you need.
Now I'm not to defend Dane Cook or Matt Rife,
right?
Or any. There's another guy out now that's got a Netflix special, and right on the thing, not right on the Netflix. No, it's either Netflix or one of the streaming services. Right on it says, bring so and so. I can't remember the guy's name. He says brings his 2 million social media followers to Netflix.
And
so in other words, they basically are admitting, and this may not even be good, but we're going to give him a special because he
puts asses in the seats.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's always been
anyway,
a key.
No, wait a minute. Let me get back to Rife and Dana Cook and those guys. Their type of material. I'm going to mention two others that do the same thing, but do it right. In other words, the same sort of overemphasize and maybe don't have jokes as much as they're just a lot of times
energy, not material.
They're energizing their premises, and they do have good premises. They just don't have punchlines, type of thing.
Right.
And the two are Sebastian Maniscalco and Brian Regan.
Yeah,
but they're
I can
funny.
Watch those two guys,
but they're funny, and
they are fun. They are funny,
and I think Maniscalco does have punchlines.
Yeah, okay, but mostly it's the setting up of the premise, which is what's funny. And I deal with this all the time in my dojo, where I'm trying to get kids to do punchlines.
Yep.
What's his name? Yogi, our Hindi comic. Well, he does this thing where he says, have you ever seen Elon Musk on Joe Rogan? I go, I've never seen two guys try to suck each other's dick so hard. And so I said to him, how hard? He goes, they just fawn over each other. I go, I know, but that's not the punchline. I go, so in other words, you got to come up with something that's just as hard or just the opposite of sucking.
It's the version of the old Carson, how hard was it?
Right. Let me give you an example of why I think Maniscalco is funny. He does a bit about, his wife is Jewish.
Well, I'm not saying he's not funny. I think he's funny. I'm just saying he and Brian Regan do the same thing that Matt Rife and Dane Cook do, just that they're funny.
But I do think he has punchlines.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let me give you an example. He says that my wife is Jewish, and we went over to her house for Passover, and I'm hungry, and after 2 hours, I say to my wife, "What are we going to eat?" She goes, "Well, first we have to read." You got to read. We're at what? What are we reading? Well, we're reading from this book called the Haggadah. Is it tasty? So I think he's funny.
But I don't think those are punchlines. Those are just things you could imagine that conversation actually happening. There's no real twist on that. It's just it's sort of like what's his name? Ralph and
Art Carney. Ed Norton.
Ralph and Alice Cramden didn't really do jokes or punchlines. They just did situation comedy type things.
Yeah,
I told you.
I told you the thing I saw in the New Yorker. Right, it shows these two astronauts on the moon, and laying dead is a housewife in a house dress. And they go, "My God, it's Alice Cramden."
Was that a New Yorker cartoon?
Yeah. You know the story about the New Yorker cartoons. The publisher, I can't remember his name. He picks every cartoon.
Oh yeah, when the original guy that got all the cartoons in there, yeah.
No, he does it now. The one who's publisher now.
Oh, okay.
He picks and that's genius. And they have a certain stable of people who do the cartoons, but they accept new people all the time. But he's the guy, which I think is amazing because his taste is just great.
I remember
when I think of
70s.
When I think of the New Yorker, I think of the name Yates Hafner, and it means nothing to you guys. So I'm going to tell you who he is. He was my freshman composition instructor at Wayne State University, and he said, "I want you guys to write in the style as if you're being published by the New Yorker." And so I wrote at least 3 essays that he gave them back with like C minuses. And he said, I said in the style of the New Yorker. And so I obviously wasn't getting it. But I ended up subscribing to the New Yorker because of the cartoons. I'm going, thanks, Professor Yates.
Well, Charles Adams.
I mean,
Well, you know,
I
they
don't
have
know
a
what you
book.
meant by
They have
writing
a
this
book
down in
of
the New
them.
Yorker, but their cartoons are awesome.
But
Yeah.
they have a book of New Yorker cartoons.
Yeah, the Charles Adams
And I'm
compendium
sure there's more
is
than one.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people forget that Charles Adams family, Charles Adams,
Yep.
was, and he had, again, for its time, some of the darkest, most subversive. You could never get away with in any other context, but yet
One of the most amazing cartoons I saw, because it was so subtle. It's supposed to be like dusk, and these two men are sitting in a bar in New York, and the shading is perfect,
Yeah.
and it shows this mob of people outside running towards a point in the horizon. This is 1965,
right.
and one of the men says, "My God, the Republicans have found a viable alternative."
No one would get that anymore.
That's what I'm saying. No,
My
it's too
God.
subtle. Of course, no, of course
How
they
we
would.
have fallen.
Sam, now
I
you
mean-
would probably remember. I remember. And then these were in the New Yorker, but they were New Yorker style cartoons done for New York Life.
Yes.
Remember My Life Insurance Company, New York Life. Why? Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I
Those were
remember the
classic.
Alka-Seltzer commercial with Gene Wilder.
I never
Yes.
saw that.
Having a counseling session with his stomach. You know, it's an Alka-Seltzer commercial, and he's having a counseling session with his stomach because he eats so badly. And he goes, "Oh, this is how you treat me. Fine, fine. I'm not eating her cooking anymore." I mean, it was hysterical, and that would never happen now. Now the copy editor is 22 years old, and he'd say, "Where are the tits?"
Well,
remember when
least they would have
TV
tips.
ads that were 30 seconds long seemed to be
Yep.
short
Yep.
Yeah.
because they were all 60 to 90 seconds.
Oof.
You got a 30-second one, you thought, well, that was nothing. You know, now you're watching YouTube and you'll have 4-second ads.
Yeah, pretty much we've reached that point now where the attention span has been completely attenuated. I mean, maybe that's where this new comedy is coming from. You know, first time I ever saw Brad, what's his name? You know, Brad.
Brad Wenzel?
Yeah, Brad Wenzel. Thank you. I wanted to call him something else. The first time I saw him on stage, it was the first time I ever did comedy at Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. I'd managed to get a slot. It was their mistake, not mine. But the one thing that impressed me was he had a certain calmness, and you could tell he was thinking, and he knew where he was going, but it allowed him to have a certain persona. You know, he was on the stage, he looked like he was meant to be on the stage. You know, a certain confidence, and that came through. These other guys who are coming out these days, I don't get it, because it just seems to me like they don't know where they're supposed to be.
I think you can blame YouTube on that.
I think so. Streaming and whatnot.
I think you can blame YouTube. And by the way, speaking of comics,
Yeah.
who had a chance for success and completely screwed themselves. Of course, now I'm not going to remember his name.
Yeah.
Carlos Mencia.
Yes. Ned. His real name is Ned.
Is it really?
He's got a German name. His dad's German.
Ned?
Yeah, he's from
Who are
Guatemala.
we talking about?
Carlos Mencia.
Carlos
His
Mencia.
real name is
his
like
name is
Ned
Ned?
Mannerheim or something.
He openly admitted he was stealing.
Yeah.
And to me, unless you're like in a mood for comedic suicide, you don't even answer the question. But he goes,
Right.
"Yeah, I stole, and I'll keep stealing." And now I don't know if he can get work.
You were on Tough Crowd. You remember when Greg Giraldo went directly at Kevin, you know what I mean, the guy who ripped off Bill. Oh my God, my brain
Dennis
stopped
Leary?
working. Dennis Leary, thank you. Yeah, when Greg
he's
Giraldo
savage.
went directly at him, you know, I mean, and everyone just stood back and let it happen.
I was there when he did it.
Really?
Yeah, he said, I hear you're going on a tour. Who's sponsoring it? Xerox?
And Dennis you know, who that time you could tell he knew his shit didn't stink. He knew he was the bad guy. He had hit record with "I'm an Asshole," which Louis C.K. said was stolen from him.
Oh, poor Louis.
Well, what? Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
He calls
anytime you
someone a jerk off for the wrong reason.
if you work on a routine and you see someone else doing it
Oh
without your
no,
permission,
no. I
that's
think there's a place in hell for them.
yeah,
Oh no,
I
I
mean,
agree. But here's the thing, it's a funny thing. Some of these guys steal, and you never hear from them again.
right?
And some of these guys steal, and they win Academy Awards.
Yeah, and have careers and
Now, I'll give you someone who was in the middle ground of that. You remember Anthony Clark, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, you don't know him, Jason. Anthony Clark
No.
was a Southern comic, did most of his work in Boston.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Very successful, blatant thief. And in Boston they have this thing where if you have a show that night, it's the Anthony Clark show. Okay, so he comes on, he's the deal, and he
Right.
comes on, and then he goes blah 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 blah, and then he introduces all the acts, but he does 5 minutes in between. He winds up doing like a half hour. Okay,
that was pretty much the Boston format, as I recall.
That's correct. Lenny Clark did it. Steve Sweeney, Barry.
I did Steve Sweeney's show. I did Kevin Meaney's show.
Right.
Yep.
I did all the shows like that.
And Anthony told me, he said, "Listen, if stealing gets me, and he had 2 different shows, which was rare. He said, if stealing gets me 2 different shows, I'm going to do 2 different shows." Then he got a TV show. I think it was called Boston Common.
Yes.
And he played he played who he is, a Southern guy, because he didn't play a guy who's actually gay, because he was, but he did that, and then he disappeared. I mean, he's I haven't seen him.
Well,
I don't have my thumb on the pulse, but he's disappeared.
He did. He got to host a game show, I think, like about 3 years after nobody had heard from him again. And I think that went nowhere. But I mean, he was named the host for it, and they did the pilot, and they did like maybe 3 weeks, and it never went anywhere. They tried to sell it to a streaming service.
How much money though does someone like Steve Harvey get for doing that game show? How much money? Jeff Foxworthy did. I mean, the money on that. Drew Carey is probably the king.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal on game shows. They record them.
Yeah.
In 1 or 2 days.
Yeah,
right.
5 shows a day for 2 days.
5 shows a day. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 shows a day for 2 days, unless they're really unless you've had it a long time, and then you can do 2.5 hours, 5 shows in the morning, take a lunch break, and do 2.5 hours, 5 shows after. But I've been to the tapings of those game shows. They just run. It's almost like they got as much time between shows as they have on the commercial breaks when you're watching them live. They really do run them like that.
Yeah, they do.
But the money that they're compensating these guys for, fairly substantial. I mean,
well, it's more than I make for hosting the Unclub, but yeah, it's not. It's not Tonight Show money.
Oh my God, they're ending Blue Bloods after next fall.
Well,
what are all those old people in the homes going to do? What are they going to watch?
Excuse me, have we met? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Art Linkletter's on.
Hey, is your show of shows starting anytime here?
Angela Lansbury is in the per capita most crime-ridden town.
No shit. No kidding. Cabot Cove is like 800 people. There's like 3 murders a week.
Exactly. I mean, the FBI isn't coming in to investigate this. Come on.
It's the Detroit of the New England.
Yeah, it's the Detroit of harbor towns.
Oh, and speaking of old people, Martin Scorsese's latest film has. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it yet or not.
Have you seen it yet?
It is. Yes, I did. I saw it in IMAX, and it is amazing.
Now, that's not the type of thing. Now, when I think of IMAX, I think of something that's visually spectacular. Was it that visually spectacular?
Well, Steve Harvey makes $10 million a season.
God damn, that's a lot of money. I mean, again, that's damn good money.
But remember, he does I think he does more than 5 shows. He does a lot of shows.
Oh, the man works. I no doubt. And
by the way, he
and
is the best host they've ever had on that show.
yeah, well, he's certainly a little more likable than Richard Dawson. I mean, wasn't there always just something cold and slimy about
You
that
know what?
limey
You know what
bastard?
wigged me out about Richard Dawson? This thing about the women have to kiss him on the cheek.
Exactly.
That
I
was
mean,
that was
he
gamey before it was.
I mean, he had that sort of slimy Jimmy
It
Savile.
was kind of slimy, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
mean, if you guys are familiar with
I tell you what, though, Steve Harvey
work.
has made that his show.
yeah,
say that again.
He does a great job of it.
Oh no, he's hysterical on that show.
Now, here's something, and maybe you two can come. There was last year, it was released to the public or got out to the public that when Steve Harvey comes in, he doesn't want to be bothered. Don't talk to him. Don't talk to him unless he talks to you. Don't bring up problems with the show. And everyone said, this makes him sound like a jerk. And I'm thinking, this guy's here to do a job. He's not here to listen to your petty BS. That's the showrunner's job.
Let me tell you something. If I do, now that the strike is over, I do background.
Yeah.
I do extra work on films and TV here in New York.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the money went up. The money was like $120. Now it's like $190 a show.
Union, yes.
Union, yes. That's right. So,
and speaking of that, Sam, just 15 seconds and go back to your story.
That's
Here
right.
in Detroit, when the UAW got their raises, that meant raises for everybody else too.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because now everybody's competing for the same worker.
Right.
Aha.
So now
you're doing
even if you're not in a unionized shop, you have to pay what the union shops are paying.
So when you do background work, one of the things they don't drill it into your head, but they let you know this: do not talk to the principals. Do not talk to the print. So if I'm on a show with if I'm doing The Good Wife, with Juliana Margulies and Christine Baranski and Chris Noth, and she could be standing next to me getting coffee.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Now she says to me, "Could you pass me the coffee?" And could you pass me the sugar? I go, "Excuse me, Lincoln freed the slaves, bitch." No, but so you just go like this. You literally go, "Absolutely, thank you, no problem."
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's not. So how do you think the show's going? I told you what happened with me on that show, didn't I? This is hysterical. I'm such an idiot. First of all, I was on the jury, and one of the things, if you're on the jury, that's the last time you do that show, because your face is right there. So It's not like you blend in. So, they pay you a little extra because you're not going to do another Good Wife. You're not.
Right. And you're also wearing clothes that you wear in an 8x10 photo too. So
that's correct. That's also correct. So one of the things that we did while I was on the jury was when I'm seeing it, it's a green screen, but when you see it on TV, they're showing a photo of a murder scene. Okay.
Right.
Everybody on the jury is looking at the green screen except Sam, who is looking at Juliana Margulies exactly. And I saw the film. I saw like this. Now that's fuck up number one. Fuck up number two was, I told you this one. I was on How Does She Do It, which was a movie with Sarah Jessica Parker, and I'm on a subway, and the subway comes to a stop, and I'm daydreaming. I'm because it takes forever, and I'm and she comes running by, and I go, Sarah Jessica Parker, and they have to stop, and they go, let's try that again, and a friend of mine who was doing it with me goes, and so ends the career of background actor Sam Greenfield.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's a movie, so fine. Whatever.
Well, I just hearing this stuff about Steve Harvey, it's like this guy's got to carry the show. He is the show. He's the show. He's there to do his job. You need to do yours.
And another thing,
and that's it.
And everybody who I'm talking to now knows this. If they're paying you that, and you were right when you said, Jason, oh my God, if they're paying you that, they can afford it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not like they're going, well, we have to close up shop because no. Yeah,
No,
that's
it's
like
just
when Horace Stone owned the San Francisco Giants, and he said, "I pay Willie Mays $125,000 a year, and I swear to God, if I could pay him one more penny, I would." Stop,
yeah,
stop,
yeah. Well,
please,
we
come
we
on.
all know how that. We all
Yeah,
remember what was it? William O. Finley? Was that what? Or was it Charlie? The guy who owned
Charlie Finley.
Charlie
Charlie
O'Finley.
Finn, who hopefully is done. I don't want to say the man should be in hell because the devil would probably be saying he's been nothing but a problem ever since he got here. No one gets along with him. No one likes him. He's in the Billy Martin wing. You think that would help, but no. Um, the
But
guy was.
on the other hand, when he owned the team, they won 3 World Series.
They were the greatest stable of pitchers and hitters I think baseball's ever really
and
seen.
one other thing, if we're going to sports,
Yes.
44 teams in the NFL have sacked the quarterback 9 times in one game.
Chiefs
Yeah.
are ahead of the Eagles.
Do you know how
7-0, by the way.
many? Do you know how many of those teams lost the game?
No idea.
2.
Two.
2.
All right.
And 1 is my team. Yesterday, they sacked the quarterback 9. Oh, and here's the pièce de résistance. At the end of the game, Washington's down by 6 points. Okay.
Yep.
And they're driving. They got 35 seconds, and it can be done, right? Sam Howell, our quarterback, is trying to throw the ball away, so he lofts it up in the air, and it gets picked off and run back for a touchdown. And I thought, this is the perfect ending to a season of shit. And
Sam.
all the people in sports in DC, all the sportscasters,
Yeah.
they said Ron Rivera, the coach, is the last hire of Dan Snyder, the last owner of the team.
Oh yeah. He'll be replaced fairly soon. But Sam,
yeah,
I have to remind you, you're talking to Lions fans.
You're talking
But
to
you
two
guys
people
are
who
doing
follow
great.
the Lions
You are
their whole
talking
life.
to Lions fans. You at least have 1 or 2 Super Bowl rings.
3.
You have 3. Thank you. You have the first black quarterback in a team that was heavily racially segregated.
Doug
First
Williams.
black quarterback to win.
Yep.
You had one of the best coaches to ever coach in the NFL.
Joe Gibbs,
Yep.
3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks and 3
Right.
different running backs.
Detroit has had a history of pain, rage, anger, football effluvience.
Those are actually the names of the coaches.
Well, if only. And we finally,
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday we won a game.
Tommy
a game.
I'll name the coaches.
Tommy Hudspeth.
Here's your coach's Hall of Dishonor. Tommy Hudspeth.
How about Darryl Rogers? What do we have to do to get fired? To fired around here?
Well, I'm not trying to top that because I can't.
Marty Morningweg.
But Washington had, what was that coach's name? He was a coach at University of South Carolina.
Yeah, Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier was always late to practice because he was playing golf.
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was very.
That sounds to me like a guy who's retired and thinks that NFL is a retirement job.
Well, he's used to coaching college kids. He's used to coaching college kids and not full-grown men, and that was the one thing one thing Detroit didn't understand. We'd have a coach. We had that coach a couple back who he knew how to coach again full-grown men in the NFL. They fired him and they brought in Patrice from.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
Who was a defensive coach? Am I right? A defensive coach.
And he is a great defensive coach.
But he didn't know how to run a team. Well,
that happened. Not a head coach.
He also didn't know how to hire a defensive coordinator because they were
which is amazing. Washington. Yeah. Well, we had the same thing when Joe Gibbs retired, they hired Richie Pettibone, who was a Hall of Fame defensive back.
Right.
And I'll never forget this. They had a game that year, and he was horrible. I think they won 2 games the following year. They had a game against the New York Jets, whose coach was Bruce Coslett, who was a very offense-oriented coach. The Jets kicked a field goal in the first 3 minutes of the game, and that was the final score, 3-0. And I am convinced that game got both coaches fired. That game got both coaches fired.
I mean, this is not 1932.
No.
Have you heard this story this year? Because betting is so much a part of sports now because of all the apps.
It always was.
But somebody told me, or I heard it on a radio station, something like that. Everybody that's bet Iowa, the college team, whatever game they're playing, vote the under. They've won the bet every year for under for Iowa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great defense, horrible offense.
Well, Ferentz, who's
Iowa
the Ferentz, who's the oldest tenured coach in the Big Ten, is probably reaching that time where the game is now. I mean, he was never going to be a great coach, but he was always a good coach. You know, I mean,
And he's popular.
He's popular. Program was stable. No big problems. You didn't have a bunch of guys being arrested for murder, rape, robbery, the usual sort of football.
Well, no wonder they were terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, but our guys,
you just recruit off death row.
Our guys are accused of stealing signals.
Oh God! Well, again, Jim Harbaugh, sadly. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I love this high dudgeon over this.
Oh,
like,
I know. I
he
mean,
stole signals. Why, that's only done in every goddamn sport in the world.
Yeah.
You're
standing.
Why do you think they put the clipboard over their mouth? It's because
I told you my favorite thing about that, right? I always think the guy's going, I'd like broccoli and beef and no MSG, please, no MSG.
No.
Okay, back to the game.
Binds you up like you wouldn't believe. You know, a couple teaspoons.
You know what I read?
That
MSG has no harmful additives at all. That it's all bullshit.
Well, millions of Chinese eat it every day, and they're not dead yet.
Who would know? How would you know?
Yeah, how would you know?
I mean, you know, there's a billion. This is something I think is interesting. Thank God they thought about time. No, I think this is interesting. China has a very serious, you know, the economy is in terrible shape.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is they have a very terrible demographic problem.
Yes.
A big portion of their population is very old and a big portion is very young. Yeah. And the unemployment rate, get ready, kids, 20%.
Right. And a big
the
problem
young
is
people are
male.
leaving China in droves to get jobs, and the old people are dying out. And the China, which now has 1.3 billion people, in 10 years, which is not a long time, it's going to be 800 million.
Yeah. That's what happens when you kill every female
forever.
Firstborn. That's what happens.
How long has it been since they've been under 1 billion people?
Since about the 1970s.
Yeah. So McDonald's is now saying, wait a minute.
Yeah. We're going to need to get robots in here.
India has passed China now as the most populous country.
Yeah, well, they didn't make a habit of killing their women first, their girls. China did.
No, they raped them.
Infanticide,
They waited till they were 4 so they could have sex.
Yes. I mean, hey, look, at least they quit burning the widows in the fire and the ghee with the, when the hubby would die, and they'd set fire to the widow as well. The British, I mean, say what you will about the British, and God knows I will, that was at least one good thing that they did. There aren't many. My favorite joke about the British was that the British Empire spanned the world. The sun never set on the British Empire. And it's because God never trusted the English in the dark. And
that's funny.
Yeah,
well, the funniest quote to come out of that, and when I say funny, it's like the ship is sinking and the captain is going, "You have nothing to worry about." Was Winston Churchill, who, when he was elected, he said, "I did not come to this position to sit over the dissolution of the British Empire." And I thought to myself, yes, and fate was going, well, maybe you didn't, but
kind of.
And yet,
yeah.
And then there was Cecil Rhodes, Cape to Cairo.
Right.
He was going to control everything from the Cape to Cairo, and they did.
Well, let's not forget that the English pioneered the corporatist system. I mean, with the British East India becoming a nation state in and of itself, a corporate being.
That's right.
But yet, I mean, it had its own army, had its own navy.
Well, and also, if you ever saw the movie Murder on the Orient Express, Sean Connery in that movie, he falls in love with Vanessa Redgrave, and when he's talking to Hercule Poirot, he says to him, talking about his wife wanting to leave him. He doesn't call him his wife because he served in India.
Right.
He goes, "My mam sahib." Even there, that's how he referred to his wife. My mam sahib has made it very clear she does. And I thought, so that's how inculcated he was, that they were in that. Like, there's a movie. If you saw this movie, I'll be so impressed. Bottle Mary.
No, sounds
What movie?
fantastic.
Bottle, like bottle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary.
No.
Bottle Mary is about a woman who, and this is very popular in India. The wife, the English wife,
Yeah.
could not lactate.
Oh,
So
okay.
hired an Indian
A wet
woman,
nurse. Yeah.
a wet nurse.
Yeah.
And this wet nurse, who's a very famous Indian actress, I can't think of her name right now, but she completely takes over the house.
Okay.
And her daughter, who's a grown woman, starts hitting on the white husband. And the wife is Greta Scacchi from The Player.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And it reaches the point where she is it is just, it just where she's like walking around, the kid is crying, she doesn't give a shit. And I believe it ends with Greta Scacchi's sister coming in and saying, "You can all leave now, you're fired." But it was a terrific movie. Bottle Mary.
One of the best firing scenes in a movie comes from Barry Lyndon when Barry Lyndon's mother, the Irish crone, is called in to help set things straight, and she's firing, what's his name, Reverend Runcie or whatever, who was he was the tutor and the guy who playing the whole role with absolute British stone-faced efficiency,
stiff upper lip.
Yes. And she's giving him the boot to try and save some money because her reprobate son has destroyed everything and is on the verge of losing it all. And again, Kubrick, again, that movie, it's like watching a beautiful oil painting. I know, but it's just so fucking good looking.
Well, you know the movie, not the movie. Who's the name of the guy? He's a very famous comedy writer, big beard.
Bruce Valanche.
Bruce Valanche.
Huh?
Say Bruce Valanche.
No.
No.
More mainstream. Worked with Bill Maher. Worked with Billy Crystal. Worked with Jerry Seinfeld. He was in Religulous.
He was what?
He was in Religulous, the movie with Maher about when they went to the Mormon church. And he says as Maher is leaving, they kick him out. They kick him out of the Mormon temple, and he goes, they say that the people here all look so, they all look the same. And this guy goes, "We so don't." But he was in that movie or TV show with Billy Crystal and who's that heavyset kid who was in Book of Mormon?
I have no idea. I never got to see.
Yeah, yes, you do. He was. You know who I'm talking about. He's in everything now.
Yeah. Jad, Nad, Fad, Gad.
Oh yeah.
Josh Gad.
Josh Gad. That's it, Josh Gad.
Yeah.
So in this movie, the character I'm trying to remember and I can't, he gets fired. The name of it is The Comedians, and Billy Crystal plays the comedian, and Josh Gad plays a secondary comedian who they tell Billy Crystal, well, you have to work with him. You have to. And he doesn't want to, but he does. Right. And they fire this guy. You know who it is, Mark, and I just can't think of his name. And so he goes up to the guy after, this is all settled out, and he says, "Listen, I am really sorry about how this was handled. You should have never, ever been treated this way. And I am deeply, deeply sorry." And the guy says to him, "Well, I'm really relieved to hear that. So listen, when we do the table reading Monday," and Billy goes, "Oh, no, you're fired." I'm just sorry they did such a shitty. Oh no, you're gone. And I thought that is the most Hollywood thing I've ever heard.
That's almost like
no, I don't want you. No, I'm going to call security. But no, you're fired.
That's like Woody Allen levels of uncomfortable.
Yes.
Sort of. He kind of mastered that sort of thing. I'm not a big Woody Allen fan, but he makes good movies. I mean, marrying his stepdaughter, I don't
Larry
know.
Charles.
Larry Charles. No, Jason, that what you just said is not true.
What?
Not his stepdaughter.
What was
Never
she?
was his stepdaughter. Never
Okay,
slept in the same.
I
No,
know,
no,
I
no,
get
no.
it.
It's a very big point. Never stayed in the same apartment as her.
Right.
Always stayed in his apartment with Mia Farrow.
Yeah.
And Mia Farrow doesn't have any room to squawk because Mia Farrow
Mia
broke up
Farrow's
the marriage.
nuts.
Mia Farrow broke up the marriage of Andre Previn and his wife Dory, which drove Dory Previn into
Yeah.
a mental institution.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
she's batshit crazy. Even
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra couldn't put up with her shit.
And there you go.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what Billy? What's his name? John Stewart said about her. Every time she drives by an orphanage, she thinks it's Home Shoppers Network.
Oh God. Yeah,
And those kids, some of those kids turned out horrible.
Yeah.
There was a suicide. And
that makes me feel a lot better about how my kids
did she go to the Bing Crosby School of Parenting?
Man, what a God,
what a wonderful guy
person.
he was, huh?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Talk about mommy dearest with a cock. I mean,
oh my God, he whipped those kids. He caned them.
Yes, I mean he did stuff that would get a person put in prison these days. I mean,
it went straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Yeah.
I mean, and finding out that Crosby and Hope didn't like each other wasn't that big of a surprise.
Is that true?
Yeah,
that gives me so much joy.
The thing that drives me nuts about Crosby, though, well, it doesn't drive me nuts, but you know how wealthy that guy was. He was in on the invention of electronic recording.
He co-owned it was Bob Hope who co-owned the Cleveland Indians for a while.
Yeah, what's his name? Bing Crosby was in on Ampex, so both recording magnetic recording tape for sound, and he backed magnetic recording for video. So we have videotape because of the money that Bing Crosby
who's filthy
rich?
Here's the wealth of stars. Two people, I'll name them, and then you can guess what they made their wealth on. Fred McMurray and Mae West.
Okay.
Mae West was about Expando pants. And is that wrong?
Yeah, and according to Alice Cooper,
Fred McMurray and Mae West has to do with their age too. They were large property purchasers in what is now called the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, and you look at some of the old films there's actually a lot of the restaurants out there will have pictures from when they opened. It was like a dirt road in front of their house 90 years ago, or in front of their store, and what it looks like today. And you can see that they were buying these large farms and plots that were just farms and plots back then for $25,000 that are now worth $80 million.
Yeah, gazillion dollars.
I told you the story about Kathy Griffin visiting Cher. And she's in a cab, and she says to the cab driver, "Do you know where she?" As they're driving in Malibu, and she says to the cab driver, not trying to be condescending, but just curious, "Do you know exactly where Cher lives?" And he goes, "You see this mountain here? Yeah, that's Cher's."
I love it.
That half of Malibu, and there is no one that I have greater respect for than Cher, because he left her with nothing.
Well, as you got to understand, Sam, that even though I'm a terrible right-wing Republican, I'm still a faggot, which means I have to love Cher, and I do.
That's true.
I mean, because and to be fair, I mean, what people always giving her crap for, I never understood. She's a
Did you get now? This is Sam knows Ron Zimmerman. You don't know Jason. Did you hear that she spent some time with Ron Zimmerman as he was passing away?
They were boyfriend and girlfriend.
I know, but
when he was dying,
at the end, she was back.
No, when he was dying, she stayed with him.
Yes.
Oh no.
I mean, she.
This is someone we know, Jason. Who was dating Cher.
We're talking about someone that both Sam and I know as a comic.
Yeah.
Well, we know Jay Moore, and he's married to Jeannie Buss.
Really?
Did you know that?
No,
Yeah,
I
I
did
knew
not
that.
know that. No, I just never understood the hate for Cher. I mean, I mean,
It pissed me off, and I think I told you this. She when the movie what was the one about the radioactive stuff,
that Silkwood.
Silkwood.
Where
So
Streep is amazing too.
the movie starts, right, and it's, they show the cast and they go, Meryl Streep, Kurt Russell,
Yeah.
Cher, and she was in the audience, and she
Yeah.
said, and the audience laughed, and she wanted to die, and
Yeah.
then Dave Chappelle in his movie about what was his, I don't know, the movie Undercover Brother.
Yeah.
And he goes, Cher won an Academy Award. Cher, and I go, hey, shithead, did you did you see Moonstruck? She was brilliant.
She was.
Yeah, I mean,
Brilliant.
when one of her first movies, and who's she going up against? Streep. Okay, there's Katharine Hepburn, there's Meryl Streep.
And Streep loved her.
Yeah, I mean, Meryl Streep could. I've always heard she's a really nice person too.
Streep, what a loser! She's one for.
But
19.
What did Trump call her? The highly overrated Meryl Streep.
Her turn in The Devil Wears Prada is.
I mean, everybody
amazing.
talks about all her nominations, but she lost all but one of them.
No, I mean, again, when you're Cher and you're going up against Meryl Streep, I mean, come on, and yet she does it. She doesn't shy away from it. She plays her role perfectly.
Well, I went to see the movie with Woody Allen, Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Yes, agree.
I saw it in New York. What's great is the theme of that movie is sometimes bad people get away with it. Sometimes bad people go on and prosper and live a great, and so I'm going into the movie, and there's Katharine Hepburn coming in.
Yes.
With a friend of hers, a lady friend of hers, and behind them is their security guy. And she's very smart. Her security guy doesn't look like a security guy.
Right.
I mean, he is 6'5".
Well,
but he looks
there is that.
But he looks like an older Jewish guy.
You're right.
Who's probably packing a gun that could blow you to hell. But just walking about 5 feet behind them, and I'll never forget this. Meryl Streep, Katharine Hepburn and her friend walk right in, don't pay, just walk right in, and the bodyguard walks right in, and I say to the guy I said this to was a young guy, and I really thought he was so cool he did this. I said, "Do you always let them in for free?" He says, "We have a different policy for 4-time Oscar winners."
I told someone that story about Shelley Winters bringing her Oscars
in a handbag,
to the audition. Yeah, it's like to someone who'd never heard of Shelley Winters, sadly, but it's just like you got to understand.
If you're 30, she
God.
died. She died. But here's the thing that bothers me about that. Okay, John Barrymore died before I was born.
Right.
Okay, Marie Dressler died in 1933. I know who they are.
Right.
Okay, because I read and I watch movies, so
I was talking with one of my coworkers who's my age, and he says his kids can't watch black and white movies. They just
what?
Racist. Black and white. Exactly. That's what it is. Bigots, all of them.
And yet directors will tell you they prefer to work in black and white.
It's more expressive. It's beautiful.
Because you're dealing with lines. You're dealing with lines and shadows rather than colors.
Hey, if it was good enough for Lenny Riefenstahl, it was. Well, never mind. I'll let the music.
Never mind. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, hold on. Bad reference. Well.
Oh, Lenny, you madcap!
That bitch was never apologetic for being.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this:
Nazi.
She made a lot of money for her Amana commercials.
Well, we've done it.
The time really flew.
Yeah,
and I tell you what, we had no technical problems with this one. I think it's Andy. It's Andy and Wes.
It's Andy's fault, and the framing is perfect. We've got a nice little sort of
so just the three of us from now on, right?
Yeah, goddamn Andy.
I'll have Andy pre-record his intro.
That's right. Just use him like someone.
Shadow puppets.
Yeah, forget working on the sound. Anyway,
Yeah.
let me close this out. This is for the rest of you out there. We do this every Monday night at 8 o'clock. It's a bunch of old comics, and we'll have young comics on here. But you know what? We got the time. We got the time. It's our off night. It's the traditional off night. But back when we were doing this 7 nights a week, Monday was usually the light night. That's how we got the name, the off night. But we're here every Monday night at 8 o'clock. So join us. Tell your friends about it. Like the program. If you come this far, go ahead,
click and subscribe.
Go ahead and subscribe to it so you can get it every week. And join us again every Monday night. We'll be back at you next Monday night. Good night, everybody.
9 sacks. 9.
9. So again, that would be a Lions thing. Somehow or another, that would be the game that we would lose yesterday.